guys, so today I'm making a Thanksgiving recipe, and one of my favorite Thanksgiving desserts is pumpkin pie. So today we're going to be making this caramelized honey pumpkin pie from Saffitz's Dessert Person. This book came out I think in October. I was super excited to get my hands on it because I used to be a big fan of Claire's work with Bon Appetit, as I'm sure many of you guys were as well. And this is the first recipe I wanted to try because it's perfect timing for Thanksgiving. So I definitely recommend you guys to pick up this book. I'll have a link to it below as well with like any equipment that I use, and then the recipe will be on my blog in case you want to make it for your Thanksgiving table. Anyways, let's get on to the baking. So this dough recipe is a little bit more labor intensive than any pie crusts I typically make, but it still turned out the same and has the same ingredients. So first you're going to mix together your all-purpose flour, salt, and sugar until it's combined. And then where it gets a little bit different is you mix together two different shapes of butter. So half of the butter you cube and you add it to the dough immediately, and you kind of just break it down with your fingers until it gets to pea shape. And then you add your padded butter from the fridge into it. So you have bigger pieces of butter and smaller pieces of butter. And then lastly, you just spoon in some ice water, mix with a fork until it's combined into a ball. Then you wrap it in plastic wrap and pop it in the fridge for 2 hours.
2 hours later.
Once you take it out of the fridge, you roll it into a long rectangle and fold it into thirds, which will help produce a lot of nice flaky layers, and then you put it in the fridge for 30 more minutes.
A few minutes later.
So now that this laborious pie dough is fully ready to roll out, I'm gonna do so. This is the longest I've had to wait to have pie. This has been like 3 hours and we don't even have pie yet. I feel like I over-floured this a little bit, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so that should be big enough for the pie. So I'm gonna do the quarter test to see. Yeah, perfect thickness. I know that you can roll onto the rolling pin to put your pie dough in, but I'm gonna fold it and then bust it open in here like this. Oh my god, yay! I'm gonna cut off the excess, and you want to kind of leave like a ½ inch of overhang so you can fold it under to make the crust. That is looking decent, and now we're ready to crimp it. So to do that, I'm kind of just gonna use my fingers and use one finger and 2 knuckles to crimp it like this, so it gets a little wavy design. You can just use your fingers instead of your knuckles, but sometimes when you use your fingers you kind of scratch and can break the dough. So let's see how this goes. Okay, I think this is good enough. This part's kind of ugly because the crust, I probably didn't leave enough of an overhang, but we're gonna work with this. So I'm gonna pop this in the freezer for 10 minutes. So it's been 10 minutes and I pulled the pie dough out of the freezer. I'm just gonna prick the dough with a fork so it doesn't bubble up and puff up too much when baking. So now I have the oven preheated to, I believe, 425, yes, and I'm just gonna prick as much of this. I don't know, do you prick the sides? I'm gonna at least give the sides one prick. And then I'm gonna line this with foil so I can weigh down the pie with beans. If you have rice or pie weights, you can use that as well. And this is what's gonna prevent the crust from God, I can't speak English, from shrinking and puffing up as you par bake it, and then it'll be good during the final bake. So I'm gonna pop this in the 425-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. It got like kind of burnt here, so I'm kind of nervous because it still has to cook again without the beans, and then with the pie filling. So I feel like we're gonna have some major brownage here, but we'll see how it goes, I guess. So now the oven is changed to 350 and I'm gonna remove these beans. I'm gonna put it back in now. I'm gonna be careful with it and flip it around the other way so the crust doesn't get too burnt, but it's definitely gonna be burnt since it already looks like this. So my pie crust is off to the side cooling, and right now I have 5 tablespoons of butter and I'm gonna heat it on medium low. We're gonna be making a brown butter with this. I'm actually not a huge fan of brown butter, but I wanted to stick to the recipe and try it out. I feel like with all the strong flavors, like the warming spices and the pumpkin, it'll be fine. So we're gonna let this go, stir constantly, and wait for those nice brown bits to start showing up as the water boils off. You can see right here, it's starting to brown, and you get like these kind of brown bits, and that's what you want. I'm gonna consider this done. The bits look dark brown to me, and so I'm gonna turn the heat off, and then we're gonna add our honey. You wanna get a decently good honey. I got like a nicer one that I would normally use from the grocery store. I would rather have done farmer's market, but I didn't have time. So this is 4 ounces of honey, 1/3 of a cup. I'm just gonna stir this on medium heat and allow it to caramelize. It's starting to get a nice simmer going now. I just want to boil it for about 2 minutes until it smells nice and caramely and nutty, making sure not to burn that brown butter. So I think this looks good, so I'm gonna turn this off now. Now that it's mellowed out, I'm gonna stream in 3/4 cup of room temperature heavy cream. For the rest of the filling, I'm going to beat 4 room temperature eggs. And then for my favorite thing, the crushing of the shells. I'm just gonna beat these so everything's combined. And then I'm gonna add 1/4 cup of dark brown sugar packed tightly. I'm gonna whisk these two together until the mixture's lighter in color. Next, we're gonna add all of the spices. So I have cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, salt, cloves, and allspice. And I'm just gonna dump all of these in. Then I'm gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Then give this a quick little stir. We have the star of the show, the 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree. And then lastly, I'm gonna stream in the honey butter situation. Cream too. Perfect, this is looking amazing. Let me taste it. It tastes really good. A little bit different than your classic pumpkin pie, but I like it. So I'm gonna add as much of the mixture that will fit into my par-baked pie crust. Cool, it looks like I can fit all of it. Next, I'm gonna bake this at 325 for 45 minutes to 1 hour. So it's wound up being 70 minutes in the oven. I did 10 extra minutes because it seemed too watery, but now that the outside of the custard is puffed, oh, is the other side burnt or is that a shadow? I can't tell. Oh, it's a shadow, thank God. And it has like a gentle wobble in the middle. I'm gonna let it cool. And the instructions say to let it cool in the oven with the door ajar. So I'm gonna let that go for an hour. So it's been about an hour and a half. And since I didn't cool it entirely in the oven, we do have some cracks, but that doesn't really bother me. So I don't care. I'm just gonna cut a slice and hope for no soggy bottom. So here's what it looks like. Could have let it cool a bit longer, but I would say it's still pretty sturdy. I think next time I would give the pie the extra 10 minutes that I didn't in the par baking, since I got nervous about the brownness of the crust. So I'm just gonna take a bite now. This is really good. Honestly, that bottom isn't fully crisp, but it's so thin that it kind of just melts in your mouth, so it's not a big deal. And I think that in time for Thanksgiving, I'll be able to fix that problem really easily. I don't think it's soggy, I just think it's like kind of thin. That's what it looks like. It tastes really good, so I'm definitely going to be making this on Thanksgiving, and I uploaded this in time in case you guys wanted to do the same. The spices in the custard are really nice, and it's kind of just like this nice texture. I don't know, I really like it. So I'll have a link below to this pie if you want to make this for your Thanksgiving dinner. That's why I uploaded this before Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Pumpkin pie is an essential. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to my channel and follow me on Instagram at Olivia Frescura, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!